What an episode of RWBY. Seriously, like, if you have not watched the latest episode that aired today, I do recommend you to click off this video, because there's going to be a lot of spoilers, like, a hell of a lot of spoilers, like, stuff that is setting up for seasons to come. That amount of spoilers. So now that I've given you a warning, I want to dive into it. First things first, the God of Light and the God of Darkness, they're jerks. Like, they're straight up, like, they're very Greek. Like, they're very Greek gods. That's the best way to describe the God of Darkness and the God of Light. Like, the punishment that Salem received was pretty excessive. Now, granted, Salem in some ways did deserve to be punished. But to the extent that she got punished, no. Especially on what happened to humanity, that was too far. Which, let's get into all of that, okay? So first things first, the backstory. Salem and Ozma, was a thing. They were lovers. Now, that, I think, was kind of obvious. Like, there's been theories around for a long time that could have been possible, and what do you know, it is. But that's not the main thing. There is a lot of shocking reveals that happened in this backstory for this episode that probably blew everybody's mind apart, because I know it did for me. First things first, Salem and Ozma, they had a relationship for a very long time. Ozma was someone that was gifted. He was someone that excelled. He was someone that could pretty much overcome anything that stood before him. But one thing that took him down was illness. And it's something that everybody in life has to go through. Regardless of how healthy you are, how strong-willed you are, whatever mindset you have, if there's one thing that makes all of humanity or all life equal, it is death. And in this case, death took Ozma. And Salem, loving Ozpin, she was in grief. And because she was in grief, she decided she wanted to visit the gods, the God of Light. She wanted to ask for the God of Light to bring back her deceased lover. But in all honesty, with her grieving and, knowing Ozma for a very long time, what she wanted to do was very logical, okay? If there was, like, a deity, like some form of god that existed, like right now, like you could physically go up to right now in this world and talk with them, I bet you right now that everybody would be going daily, thousands upon thousands, millions of people be saying, bring back my lover. There'd be so much. And that's the point I'm getting at, is that what Salem did in this episode, it's very common. It's something that people would do. And I cannot put Salem down for grabbing her lover and is like, could you bring my lover Ozma back? I love him, and I feel like it's not just that he died like this. After overcoming so much, she was upset. And like I said, she was grieving. Now, another thing is that at the end of the day, he died. His time was to go. And so I think Salem, in some ways, I honestly feel sympathy for her. I pity her, and I understand where she's coming from. But at the same time, everybody dies eventually. That's how it is. That's how life works. It sucks. It's horrible to think about, but that's how life is. And obviously, she couldn't accept that. She did not want to accept that, which is one of the big things that humanity has always struggled with, is people don't want to accept that big fact. When worst comes to worst, things like that actually happen, and you just can't really run away from it. And so, when she went to the God of Light to seek help, the God of Light's like, nope, not doing it. Like, I can't. I'm not disrupting the balance between both sides. I will not disrupt the balance. I will not revive your lover. And so he turned her away. Now, we have to also look at the fact that this man most likely got a lot of requests constantly. Most likely everybody constantly visited him and is like, could you, give me money? Could you give me wealth? Could you heal my sickness? Could you potentially bring back my, lover? Whatever, most likely the dude was constantly being asked on the daily for things. And so obviously he just did not have time to answer every single individual prayer that someone would come up to him and ask for. So obviously he turned Salem away. Now, do I think that he was mean or wrong in that regard? no, I think he was, in a lot of ways, he was proper in exercising his power. He was the god of light, and honestly, bringing back someone to life and all that, it would upset the balance, because if he could do that for one person, that means he could do it for multiple. He can continuously bring people back, which then death would have no meaning, and the purpose of your life would have no meaning. It's just a big gray area. So, yeah, basically, I understand where the god of light's coming from. So Salem, obviously still having a lot of grief, which, once again, I'm not judging her, because she has all right to feel grief, she decided to go to the god of darkness, which, like I said, I think, once again, makes a lot of sense. She acted very human. She was very human with the way she reacted, and how she acted, and how she went up to the god of darkness, didn't say anything about talking with the man's brother. It was like, look, my lover died, could you, bring back my lover? Now, obviously, she did not talk about, how she already asked his brother, the god of light, to bring back, and thanks to her kind of visiting him, he was like, whoa, this is an honor. Nobody ever visits me. Nobody comes to me. Like, it's the first time, like, a regular human has come to me and asked me for a favor, and so obviously, he felt very honored, prideful, happy, and he gave her a gift. He brought back her lover. Now, in this case, it's obvious that he wasn't very malicious. Like, the god of darkness wasn't really trying to be mean. He brought her back, or brought Ozma back, because he was like, whoa, like, just people are coming to me. Like, my first follower, my first person that actually wants to come and visit me is actually doing this. Like, you know what? Sure, I'll give you what you want. And so, once again, he was fine. He was in the right. And Salem, once again, even though she lied to the man, technically, she was still acting very normal, and I still can agree with her decisions and the way she acted. She wanted to bring back the person she loved back to life. Now, the point here is that soon as the god of darkness brought back Ozma, the god of light came in and just took him away, which, by the way, is really messed up. Like, yo, like, that is some messed up crap. Like, her lover comes back. Like, she's already had to deal with this man dying, okay? He's dead. And then she finally gets to see him again, runs up to him, is like, my lover, you're back. And then the god of light comes and is like, no. And it's just like, freaking, I don't feel so good towards him. I'm just like, that's messed up. This woman's been going through a lot of grief, and then you take her away from her lover a second time. That was pretty freaking awful. Like, it shows how petty or awful these gods are in terms of really thinking about the individuals that they're messing with. Because, see, it's very clear with what Salem is starting to think about once that happened, and her punishment of becoming immortal and not really understanding the concept of life itself. And she got punished, which, by the way, very extreme punishment. She did not deserve that amount of punishment. That was really freaking excessive. Like, nobody, like, granted, immortality seems really cool and all, but at the end of the day, immortality isn't actually a good thing if you really factor in everything. Think about it like this, from a different perspective. If you were given immortality, obviously, you won't die, okay? If we're talking about full-on immortality, can't die or anything, that would be cool and all. But the thing is, eventually you'll reach a point to where you probably have experienced so many things or done everything that it's just become very numb. Nothing will really matter anymore. Nothing really excites you anymore. And even if it does, let's say you found someone to settle down with in love, one day, your lover's going to die, and you're going to keep on moving forward. You can never rest in peace. You'll see your children die, and you move onward. It's just a very dark existence. And so, what curse or punishment Salem was given was very excessive for someone basically just going out of their way to try to bring back their lover. I think that's really messed up. But it doesn't just stop there. Obviously, Salem was very angry, which, like I said, I would be angry if I saw my lover come back and then taken away once again. I would be livid. I think many would be livid if you saw something like that. It's like, oh, so you can bring back my lover like that, but then you take him away from me. You're like, what the hell? So, it showed that there wasn't really a unity with these two gods, the god of light and the god of darkness, and that they were not one cohesive unit. They did have their rules that they followed, but there obviously was some issues between the two. And it's obvious that the god of darkness has a temper problem. He is a very angry individual. Well, the God of Light, he seems more about the divine side, acting like a benevolent ruler or benevolent god, but in reality, because of how strict he is, he doesn't really actually understand how humanity is. And it seems like these two individuals, the creators of humanity itself, don't really understand the concept or weight of what they're doing to these individuals of humanity itself. Like, for instance, with Salem and what she said, she's like, she realized the type of dispute that she caused between the God of Light and the God of Darkness. They almost got into a fight because of her. She's like, if I could do something like that just so simple, then it would be very easy to probably bring down these two, which I think Salem's thoughts were very logical, because, I mean, it was very obvious from just the brief exchanges we saw just from that point forward, is that they were not all-knowing. They were definitely not individuals that couldn't be, faltered. Like, they definitely could fall if something could rival their strength. And in this case, that's what Salem wanted to do, bring them down. And when finally humanity was all persuaded to face the gods, you had it to where the God of Darkness just eradicated them. Now, let's look at the big picture here, okay? What the God of Darkness did was very, once again, excessive. It was something that shouldn't have been done in the first place, because when you look at the army that charged them, yes, it was a big army, but I don't think it should represent the entirety of humanity. Everybody in humanity should not have been eradicated like that because of one individual. Basically, to make a long story short, Salem, because of her wanting her lover back and the grief she had, she was cursed to be immortal. Then on top of that, because of her anger and what they did to her, which was justified, by the way, even if she's wrong in some areas, was justified for her anger, she straight up, because of that, instead of just, ending her and getting her out of the picture, which obviously would cause more problems, they decided just to eradicate all of humanity and then just abandon the planet, which the God of Darkness just breaks for the moon and just leaves, which messed up. Very, very, very messed up. Which, by the way, in some cases, I understand why the God of Darkness would be upset. He stated that he gave magic to the humans. His very power he gifted them, they tried to use against him. And when he looked at it in his hands, he's like, really? And he got rid of it and just eradicated everyone. He was angry because his very tools were used against him. And you also got to look at it a little bit deeper, that Salem was the only person that ever came to visit him. And remember how happy he was when that happened. And he is the one that pretty much gave magic, but he was never thanked. His brother, which was the divine light, the God of light, was always, praised. Everybody followed him. But the God of Darkness, which gave a lot of gifts, never was praised. So I can understand why he was very hurt in that moment and did what he did. But once again, it's still messed up. And he does have a temper problem. Now, to fast forward a little bit with this backstory, basically, after all of this happened and humanity apparently was all wiped out, Ozma is tasked by the God of Light to save humanity. Now, there's a lot of weird things throughout this episode, and not everything is completely clarified. We know that humanity was apparently wiped out. That was stated within the episode. However, apparently some time passed and humanity somehow back, and then Faunus appeared as well. We don't know exactly where they came from. We have no idea, but some time has passed and humanity has risen up once again. And I do have a couple of theories I want to talk about. So, if we can assume that all of humanity was wiped out, and the gods indeed did abandon the world, then what is going on with humanity still there? Who is RWBY? Who is Weiss? Who is Blake and Yang? What are they? Who are they? If humanity is apparently dead, how are they still technically around? What happened? Did the God of Light decide to bring back some parts of humanity for, he could finally come back and just, actually try to put them on trial to see if they were good or not? I don't think it's really that easy. Let's talk about it. Think about something that's been in our face since the very beginning. Think about it. Raven and Crow. Now, if we go on a limb here and think about how the Faunus came about, we could assume that the Faunus most likely could potentially be just animals transformed into animal-like humans. Because we know that Salem has a lot of power. She's connected with the Grimm. And for all we know, because of how she was apparently a witch and she was by herself for a very long time, we don't really know how long, but by herself for a long time, for all we know, she could have potentially have turned a lot of maybe animals that were still alive into faunuses. And most likely, humans are basically animals that have all of their features completely removed. They're looking like, pure animal, like pure humans. But faunuses are, individuals that are slowly reverting back to their normal state. Which then would explain what Raven and Crow is. Think about that. What if Ozpin, what he did to Raven and Crow wasn't necessarily a curse, but he just reverted them back to their main forms, which was a raven and a crow. Think about that. What if all of humanity really is dead, but the only reason why they look human is just they were just turned into like human-looking forms, even though they're all animals, which would be pretty messed up. That would be really messed up if that is exactly the case. And also another thing to look at too is that the Dust, what Weiss's, entire company has been doing, her family, Dust is humans. And let me explain the reason why I say this is actually true. When Ozma died in Salem's arms, he turned to black dust, which, when you think about it, dust is used for magic, and we know that the humanity of old, they were able to use magic. And so if we could assume that all of humanity was wiped out, turned to dust, basically, thanks to the God of Darkness, then all the dust that we see being used throughout this series is actually just the remnants of humanity. The old, fossilized parts of humanity that's just long been forgotten. That's pretty dark, if that's where Rooster Teeth is taking the story, with the dust, to the whole situation with, what our characters really are, how the faunus came about, and if it really is true, then there's only two humans really alive, which is, like I said, it's Ozpin and Salem, and everybody else is just animals, which it's kind of messed up. It's like an Adam and Eve story. And the maidens are just individuals that were gifted power from the daughters of Salem and, Ozpin. Which, by the way, the four girls that came from them, it's obvious that they were the four maidens. And if you look at the oldest girl, she looks very similar to Jinn, which is the genie that's been telling all of this story. So, most likely the four children, the reason why the maidens are tied to the, relics is because they are, in fact, probably the relics themselves. Or at least the children of Ozpin was the relics. Think about it. So, yeah, great episode. A lot of questions, but, man, what a wonderful freaking episode for world building. By the way, I saw that, Rooster Teeth. You did state that this planet was a trial planet. So that does mean that there is a lot of potential possibility if Rooster Teeth wanted to, we could visit other planets. Because these gods apparently have created other planets with life. Think about it. So we could assume that if Rooster Teeth wants to expand this series, we could easily go to other planets. But I won't end at that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.